What's up out there? We got the big reveal for Path of Exile 2 0.2.0 the other day that's coming out on April 4th. And that came out on Thursday. I went to bed that night and then woke up Friday morning. And my first thought is I absolutely do not want to go through that campaign again. So I've made the command decision. I'm just going to uninstall Path of Exile 2 completely until they either change the game significantly enough that I think it's going to be enjoyable to play and not the miserable slog that it currently is, or they add the final bits of the campaign, because I think at this point, the only thing I want to do is see how the campaign plays out and be done with it. I don't think I ever want to go through that campaign ever again. The thought of, I think it took me, 40 or 50 hours to go through it, something like that. I think it was 10 hours per act, and I don't remember how much else it was, but it's more than I really ever want to I just don't ever want to deal with it again. And even during their Q&A, somebody asked if they were planning on shrinking their maps down in the campaign, not the mapping section, but just in the campaign itself. And they said, no, they're just going to add more content to it. And I don't want to, seriously, I just don't even want to play it. It's not fun. It's the exact opposite of fun. So I'm out. I don't even want to deal with it anymore. So that got me to thinking about other things. Do I want to continue on with the Legacy of Phrecia event and everything? So I ended up migrating some of my characters from Phrecia over into regular Settlers League, which is where we're at now. I don't know that I'm completely done with Phrecia League, but if I'm going to spend a lot of time in Phrecia League trying to go fight bosses and, like trying to do some Maven fights and stuff like that and get better gear and all that kind of thing, then I think I would rather do that here in Settlers League and be able to have all the resources that I have, all the different currency and gear and all that. Like, one of the things that I wanted to try in Phrecia League is on one of the uniques that I wanted to try is on this character right now that I'm tinkering around with. And I just couldn't find it in Phrecia League. So I thought, you know what, instead of messing around with that, I wanted to come over here and try to finish out this league. It's the never-ending league. We've got another couple of months on this anyway. So I thought I would come over here and spend some time working on stuff in regular Settlers League. I still have access to my Phrecia stuff should I choose, but for the moment, I'm going to come back over to Settlers League and play on this for a while and just kind of continue on with this. So after I migrated some stuff over to here, and I muled some things over, there was an Empower gem that I had, and some Delve items and stuff like that. Like, there was some stuff that I wanted to bring over here. But once I got done with that, I got to thinking about the settler side. I tried all these different ascendancies out this league. I don't know, I had 18 or 20 different builds going on at some point. And some were like level 30 or something like that. Some were up in the mid 90s. So I took a look at all my different builds and I just made some hard decisions. I sit there and I thought, I'm not going to be able to play everything in the remaining time that we have. I'm just not going to be able to spend enough time on all those different builds. So I cleaned them out, took all the gear that I wanted off of them and deleted them. I got it down. So I've got the two builds. I kept my Volspark build and my Behemoth Cyclone build over on Phrecia. So those two builds are still over there. And then over here, I narrowed things down to 5 remaining builds. I've got my Tech Slam build that I did everything with this league. And what else did I keep? This build, my Tech Slam build. And I got like 3, I've got a few Cyclone builds. Oh, the Juggernaut Cyclone that I got, my Berserker Cyclone, and that kind of thing. That's what I kept over here. So I want to work on bossing and everything, and if I'm going to do all that in Phrecia, I may as well just do it here where I have all the currency and everything. So that's my plan. And that's why I kind of broke things down to just a few builds instead of trying to take all these other builds on and continue with that. I've had my fill of working on builds, and I was kind of thinking about this earlier also for next league. The next thing that I'm working on for this league, or one of the things that I want to do while I'm in this league, is try to figure out what my build for next league is going to be. I like my Tech Slam build. I thought that was really good. I also like my Juggernaut Cyclone. That was kind of fun. But I think the Berserker Cyclone was far better. That was the one that did the most DPS. And then there's a Chieftain Cyclone, which is what I'm playing right now. This is basically, call it a clone of what I've got my Behemoth Cyclone going on in Phrecia League. That's pretty much the way this plays. And I'll show you this build a little bit more. I think I've showed it already at one point, but made some other changes. And since I don't know, I worked on it a little bit today. I took it from level 70, I think. I've been spending a little bit of quality time with it. I think the Chieftain's a really good ascendancy for it. I think the Berserker's a really good ascendancy for Cyclone anyway. But I think the Chieftain might win out a little bit. So some part of what I want to do is try to figure out what I want to have for next league. Whenever the Never-Ending League gets done, I want to figure out what I want to play. And some of this, what I'm going to be doing for the foreseeable future, is just kind of tinkering around with that kind of concept, just to, what can I do with it, and where, you know, what build do I actually want to play as we go forward. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I'm pretty much done with Phrecia League. I'm out of PoE 2. I have just no interest in that. That's miserable slog of a game until they figure out, like, they have their developer vision, and that's fine, but I wanted something a little bit more like this and not like that. By this, I mean fun, not necessarily the speedy route. And like, if you look at the monsters in here, the monsters in this don't move nearly as fast as the ones in PoE 2. It feels like the monsters in PoE 2 are just cracked out. And this stuff doesn't move necessarily nearly as fast. But anyway, so let's talk about this build. I think I showed this one off sometime during Phrecia League. This is actually my take on the Behemoth Cyclone that I've got in Phrecia League. Now, this is in Trade League. This is in regular Settlers League. It's not in Phrecia League. But I chose to not use spells. Like, I made the design decision when I started working on this thing to not use any spells with it at all. So it's just, that's the way it is. There's no spells. So we've got nothing on here. And basically the way I've got this thing built is the same way that I've got it in Phrecia League. This is pretty much the passive tree that I took in Phrecia League, except with the Behemoth build over there, I didn't need to take this node here for melee hits Fortify, so I ended up having to take the Mastery node on this, because that, or put the Fortify gem in, the support gem, and I didn't want to mess with that. So I ended up taking this over here. So there's some slight changes to it. Because of this Nagamu's Flame, I had to go into the fire section over here a little bit. So there are going to be some changes from the way I played it over there, but it's because of some of the differences. Now, with Rampage in Phrecia League, the Rampage, every, 20 or so kills, there's certain cutoff points where, like, at 100 kills, you're going to get a big explosion. And if you dive into a big pack, the way Rampage works is every kill ramps up the count to 1,000. Once you've reached 1,000, you're at max DPS, but you're no longer doing any special effects. With the way I've got my Cyclone build, if I dive into a big pack of monsters or keep continually hitting something often enough, my stacks of Rampage keep building up. And when you get, 100 kills, you get like an explosion that comes out. When you get about 300 or 500 or 600, somewhere in those, there's certain cutoffs where bigger explosions would happen. Like throw off fireworks and, all kinds of other stuff that comes out of it. But it's not consistent. It's consistent as you ramp up through those checkpoints. But once you've hit about 700 kills, unless you're really popping off, you can't really get past that with the explosion. So usually about 7, on a good day, 800 kills, you can keep the explosions ramping off. However, once you get past that, you're just doing raw DPS. So you're not really getting any benefit from the Rampage aside from the attack speed and things like that. So with the Chieftain Ascendancy, we get this Death's Fury, which gives enemies have a chance to explode, dealing 500% of their max life as fire damage. So that right there, it solves the biggest thing that I have an issue with Rampage on, is that the explosions are just all the time. I don't have to ramp anything up. Now, I'm not getting the top end movement speed and DPS and stuff like that, or the fortification and everything that Ascendancy offers, the Behemoth part of it. But I think the Chieftain is the best equivalent of that because of this explosions you can get from Death's Fury. And then you also get the benefit of just stacking fire res. You don't have to worry about cold or lightning. If you take these two, you basically get pretty much maxed out all your other resistances, and it makes life so much easier. So when I started this one, I started on a Chieftain for that specific reason. I thought that's the way to go on it. And then the passive tree is pretty much the same as all the other one. We've got... Impale and stuff like that. I probably need to revisit this and see whether I want to stick with Impales and see if I want to. It's only 3 nodes to get that I've put into it, so I'll probably stick with those. However, I don't know that I'm getting the full chance to Impale like I am in the other one. 90%. So it's mostly there because in the other build I had to put chance to Impale on my axe. So it's mostly impaling, but otherwise, at any rate. So the Chieftain Ascendancy, I think, fits the build to kind of make the Behemoth Cyclone work over here. And it works better over here because the explosions are far more consistent. I don't have to rampage up to any significant number. And it's not really going to matter on boss fights, but I don't know. At least it's something that can be replicated. Now, I've also not put any spells on here, and we are running, we're running our Cyclone 6-link setup, and then we've got Leap Slam. One thing I did recently over on the Phrecia event was go ahead and socket in Culling Strike on Leap Slam so that I can get the extra, if I'm fighting a monster down, it gets down to 10%. If it's really hard to fight, I can start Leap Slamming it and try to kill it off with that. So I've worked on that. And I can't remember if I showed it or not, but I've worked in Infernal Cry because of Combust. And with Combust, you can do Corrupting Cry support. So let's go in here and take a look at something real quick, and I'll show you how this works. It's kind of slick. It doesn't do a ton of DPS, and it's probably not necessarily worth it. But if I do a Cry, you can see the little red bubbles over these things, if it shows up better over here. You can also see them lit on fire. The only thing I did was Corrupting Cry. I did not do any other, the Infernal Cry, I should say. I did not do any other attacks. I just did the War Cry. And it's kind of cool because you can't exert Cyclone. When you put Corrupting Cry support on it, you can actually inflict corrupted blood, and that's a debuff. It's not like actual bleeding or anything. So it's a little bit different. It's not necessarily going to do a ton of damage. But when you can't do any spells and you just don't have any other options, I didn't think it was too bad of an idea to have on there. The only thing is, the Corrupting Blood gives you a little bit of corrupted blood for a minute, or a little bit of a blood cost, a life cost, a little bit of damage over time that you have to endure. So it's not necessarily the best thing to do during a boss fight, but it is a little bit of extra damage, and it does seem to help a little bit. Plus, it also adds some little poofs or explosions. They're not massive explosions. I don't know if I can show it. See if we can go find something to fight here. Try to show this off a little bit. So if we go War Cry on those, I don't know if it, that's the big explosion there. These are more like a little poof that right there. They just kind of poofed out of existence. So, and you'll notice I'm not actually using Leap Slam to apply it. I think it's the combination of Corrupting Cry. You're giving the Infernal Cry a damaging ailment. So because it's got a damaging ailment on it, you can actually use it even though you can't, so you can't exert, normally the Infernal Cry would have to exert something, and you can't exert Cyclone. So putting the Corrupting Cry support on it, and then I think it actually exerts it somehow or something like that. I don't quite get how it works exactly. Like, I can't explain it. I don't know how to actually put words to what it's doing, but you can actually see that if I come out here and I War Cry, it lights stuff on fire and makes them go poof. It's not always. I think there's a chance. I don't know that it always explodes, but you know, it helps clean packs and stuff like that. What I was really using it for in Phrecia was once you hit that 800 mark on the rampage kills, I was going ahead and I would come in there and throw the war cry out. So you could get that little poof going and potentially get actual explosions after the 800 kill mark. So you could have 1,200 rampage kills and take advantage of the DPS, but then you could war cry and still get the little poofs out of them. So with this, it's got explosion. Where does it say that at? In addition to being taunted, enemies are inflicted with a secondary debuff, causing them to explode when they die, dealing fire damage in an area. And then later on down here in the blue, it says explosion deals fire damage equal to 8% of the monster's maximum life. Now, I thought that was kind of a cool idea to do just because I couldn't cast any spells or anything like that. And you can't use auto exertion or anything like that. I can't even use auto exertion here because it puts like 150% life multiplier on it. But I thought it was kind of a cool idea, and you can use 2 of those if you have second wind support. You can basically drop 2 of those out there. You're dropping 8 stacks of corrupted blood. But because this adds an attack to it, you can actually trigger it from Infernal Cry without having to do something that is exerted. Normally you would have to use like Leap Slam or a Tectonic Slam or something like that can be exerted to apply it. But with this, I thought it was kind of cool. It's just a little bit of DPS. It's not a whole lot, but I thought it was kind of cool to put in there. The other thing that I wanted to do with this guy here, now we're in Settlers League, and I did have this Nagamu's Flame. I think I showed this out a while back when we were talking about these at some point. I did a proof of concept, and I burned off whatever this build was originally. It was like level 68 or something like that, 70, somewhere in there I think somewhere in that realm. But we did the Phrecia event, and I was like, you know what? The only thing different about this Phrecia event is the ascendancy part. Like the passive tree is the same. All the gear that I have is the same. So running in, and I've done the Eater and the Exarch in Phrecia. So replicating that in regular League, the Settlers League, I didn't think was going to be all that big a deal. And as I was working through this and trying to figure out things to improve the Phrecia side of things, I found this axe in my stash, and I liked it because this has a chance to trigger level 16 Molten Burst on melee hit. So this would be a little bit more DPS, and I was hoping to get this over in Phrecia event, but I wanted to, like I was trying to replicate things here and tinker with it and just do a proof of concept. So when I went into Phrecia League, I spent, the better part of a week trying to get this thing to drop, and I just could not get it to drop. And I think I throw 2 or 3 of these away a league, but at any rate, I couldn't get it to drop. So when I came back to Settlers League today, I thought, you know what, I'm going to keep this build. I'm going to try to build this up to level 90, 95, something like that, and see how it goes, and see how far this particular axe with that goes. And I don't have any spells or anything. So you may be wondering what all this 6-link is about. I really didn't need to 6-link this. Come to find out, you just need 6 support gems, so you just need 6 sockets. But this Molten Burst benefits from every single support gem on here, and they don't have to be linked together. They just have to be equipped on the axe. So I took Elemental Proliferation because this gives me a chance to freeze, shock, and ignite. I really care about the ignite. We've got Combustion support for chance to ignite. We've got Added Fire for extra fire damage, which I'm negotiable on that one. Greater multiple projectiles. I might be inclined to do like Vicious Projectiles or Chain or something like that. I'm not sure. And then we've got Iron Grip to take strength and apply it to projectile damage. And then I put returning projectiles on. Chain really didn't feel all that great. Vicious Projectiles on the tooltip has more DPS, but in practice, I think I like this returning projectiles more. It's hard to tell, but I think it's dropping a lot more projectiles on the ground, and it seems like there's more there to it. But at any rate, I ended up coming back here and tinkering around with this setup, recreate, this is something I started a while back, but now that I'm not playing Phrecia anymore, I wanted to come over here and like I said, work on some boss fights and stuff like that. Like if I go look at where I'm at on the mapping process, and I thought about actually migrating my Phrecia progress over, but I think it wipes this out. I've already got the Forum, Twisted, Forgotten, and Elder Slayers done. Those are finished and over with. I just need to work on the Hidden. I don't know that I'll ever do the Feared this time. And, you know, I've got a stack of stuff over here. We've got fragments for the various boss fights. I've got a few attempts at those. I could do more Maven attempts and stuff like that. And I thought, you know what? It'd be better for me to come over here and work on like maybe my Tectonic Slam build, maybe the Berserker Cyclone that I've got going, maybe this one, I don't know. Maybe I will migrate that Phrecia Cyclone build over and do some things with it. I'm not sure, because it's probably a better build than this one is. It's definitely got a better axe. So I'm not entirely sure how I want to proceed forward, but I think it's better to just go into Settlers League, and we've got, till June probably before the next league. If I'm not playing PoE 2, then I would prefer to, I still want to play Path of Exile. I don't want to play PoE 2 and hate it. So I'm going to come back here, work on this for a little bit until we get Last Epoch going or something else catches my eye in the meantime. But at any rate, did a lot of cleanup. I'm decidedly not playing Path of Exile 2, and I think I'm done with Phrecia League. I'm going to leave those characters over there for a little bit. Maybe I could mule some stuff back if I wanted, but I'm kind of enjoying where I'm at. Cleaned a bunch of my builds out here. I've got it down to a few basic builds that I want to continue to work on to try to take these bosses down and try to fix things. I've learned a lot about making builds and rolling gear. Like, I'm starting to learn that I want to, one of the big things that I need to do is to sit down and do a lot of harvest and go get up a lot of harvest juice. I've been really enjoying doing harvest crafting. I've been getting a lot of good results from it because you can just go target things over here. So if I want lightning, fire, life, physical, whatever, I'm targeting life and then rolling the helmet until I get fire res on it or something like that is great. Or vice versa. I could target fire until I get a good life roll on it and just get all these other fire benefits out of it. That's been working out extremely well, and I want to continue doing that, but I just don't have enough harvest juice. So I wanted to get this build kind of where it could start rolling some of that stuff and working towards that, getting some better gear and things like that. So at any rate, long story short, that is what I've got going on for the near future. And yeah, I just thought I'd drop a video and just talk about it all. But at any rate, that's going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.